can certainly be used as a way to identify us. They say something about us. They are unique to us. I did not realize that they were like fingerprints insofar as having a very unique, each person's palm is unique. And in the medical center one, it's the way they scan it is how the veins and how the veins travel around the hand. So the image of it is actually quite interesting. And palms as identifiers of people is certainly not a new idea. People have been practicing palm readings for a very long time, centuries I suppose, as a way to tell the unique story of a person's lifeline or heart line or headline. It's passed in and out of vogue, and in and out of the mystical realm, and in and out of practice and acceptance. Some people say that palm readings tell the future, and others say that by doing the reading, it manifests it, because once it's out there, then, then you're sort of met with this issue of, do you resist it, or do you break? Did any of you see Eat, Pray, Love, the movie? There's a scene in the fairly early part of that movie where she goes to a reader, and she has him, he reads her palm, and he says that she's going to be in 2 marriages, a long one and a short one. And so she says, well, is this one the long one or the short one? And then he says, well, I can't tell you that, but if she's thinking about divorcing her husband, which she is, you can see how that would manifest, right? If somebody tells you that. So anyway, once something's spoken, it seems like it's out there, and then you're either kind of resisting it or making it happen. So I don't know if any of you have ever had your palms read, or if any of you are in that art of palmistry. If you are, my apologies, because I don't really know anything about it. I've never had a palm reading, and I'm not sure that I want one, because I'm not sure I really want to know. I want to know that someone knows the possibilities about my lifeline, and let's see, my lifeline and my heart line and my head line. But that someone is God. I'm all about the surprises of life. I want God to know. I don't really want to know. What is my future? What is your future? What is all of our future? God only knows. And that's true. God only knows. If you look at these passages from Isaiah and the Psalms, God really does know. God's hands make and fashion each of us in that sort of creating and creative sort of way. Creates us and then encourages us to be creative and creators. God's always shaping and holding us and encouraging us. And then after we're formed, as in the case of the prophet Isaiah, God calls us to action and to faith. And even when the words are powerful and harsh, which Isaiah's words for the people of Israel were, that's why it uses that line about my words, how's it go? My mouth like a sharp sword, because Isaiah, of course, is always speaking to the people and saying, you gotta buck up or else God's gonna do this, that, and the other thing. And so, even in those moments, God is with him, God is shaping him, creating him. Even when we resist God and we take up habits or we do things that separate us from God, when we're certain that God has completely forgotten about us, we are still named and we are still known, and our records are permanently stored in the palm of God's hand. How can I forget about you, says God? You are inscribed on the palm of my hand. Now, I don't know if this is a biblical endorsement of test-taking strategies that maybe some of you might have used in college, or outlining a speech, perhaps, on your hand. It might be a biblical endorsement of tattoos, because it's a permanent inscription on our hand. But being inscribed on the palm of God's hand means that we're known by God, and we're a part of God's identity, and it means that we are acting with God. When God extends the hand of welcome, our names are there. When God reaches out her hand in peace, we are there. When God extends a helping hand, a comforting hug, a hand to hold on to, we are there. Our names, our identities are permanently inscribed in those moments, in those actions of the Holy One. We usually think of God acting through our hands. don't we? Have you heard that line before? That we are God's hands and feet, right? But this passage kind of widens that view because it puts us in God's hands. We're a part of the path of God. God's lifeline includes each and every one of us. God's head and heart line includes each and every one of us. Even the fate of God has our hand in it and our part in it. All these paths are in God's great palm, and they all include us because we are permanently inscribed on God's hand. Never forgotten and always there when God is reaching out. We walk these paths, these same paths in our spiritual journey with God. Perhaps your path today is a heart line because your heart is aching or your heart is full. Perhaps your path is a headline because you're trying to wrap your mind around something. Perhaps your path is a health line today because you're dealing with issues of sickness. But no matter what you're dealing with, you're inscribed in God's hand, written on God's palm, held in your journey in God's great hands. So I think it might be true that palm readings can create reality because they name something that then you can go and do or you manifest. We too create reality by being named on God's palm. We often talk here in this church about bringing about the kingdom. That is, participating in the life and in the spiritual journey in such a way that we manifest love. And we manifest God's love for all people. God's palm has already been read to us. We were there at the palm reading of God, inscribed on the palm, there at the palm reading because we have a Bible that tells us the story of God's journey. We were there at the palm reading because it's part of our experience to know the living God. We feel it in community, we feel it in relationships, we feel it in our sacred times alone with God, and we certainly know it through Christ Jesus. But will God's palm reading come to pass? It's been spoken. Can it be manifested? Or are too many of us resisting it? I think it is up to us. Because truly we are written permanently on God's palm, unforgettable, precious. We are in God's hands, but that means something so much more than just safe and held. It means that, for sure, to be in God's hands. But it also means being part of the living God's lifeline, part of her trajectory and her dream and her vision for us all, to bring about the kingdom, to widen the circle of love, and to make sure that people know that God is walking with us and has dreams.